The financial institutions all realize that they've lost and they can no longer push back. And so instead of actually fighting against the tide, you know what they're doing? They're swimming with it for the first time. So now all of a sudden you have hundreds of billions, trillions and trillions of dollars that are coming into these because they realize that the BlackRock ETF, Bitcoin ETF, was the most successful in history, made them a fortune. And guess what they're doing? Every day you have another person popping up another ETF, and every day you have another private wealth manager who made a lot of money in Bitcoin, recommending that his clients put a more significant stake of their net income into Bitcoin. And all of a sudden you have legislation going through which gives people more of an optionality for 401ks and retirement plans to have cryptocurrency allocation. This is all happening at the same time. The AI boom, the institutions, the retirement plans, the companies, all of you out there every single day that are building products on top of the system, being able to custody it. The biggest banks in the country with the vast majority of accounts, the Charles Schwab's that have 30% of the retirement accounts in this country. They're allowing the custody of Bitcoin. They're allowing people to borrow against their BTC holdings. Guys, what this does, the way this propels this industry is absolutely monumental. And so, I always get killed. I believe Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million. I believe Bitcoin is going to go to more than $1 million. I've said that over and over and over. And I've never had more conviction than right now.
JP Morgan called Bitcoin a joke. 18 months later, they're letting people borrow against it to buy homes. That single fact is more revealing than anything Bitcoin bulls have said in the last 5 years. Because JP Morgan didn't change their mind about Bitcoin out of intellectual curiosity. They changed because the math turned against them and they had no other move. The man in this video watched that war from the inside. Eric Trump didn't just observe the banking system push back against crypto, he got thrown out of JP Morgan Chase. Capital One dropped him. Every major institution cut him off. And rather than killing his conviction, it handed him the clearest possible proof that Bitcoin was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. Now the same institutions are buying in. And that should make you more uneasy, not more confident.
We're the most debanked family in the world, right? As long as my father wants to wear half a Bank of America grade again, right? I got thrown out of JP Morgan Chase. I got thrown out of Capital One. We got thrown out of every bank in the world for running unbelievable hotels, the best restaurants, the best commercial buildings, the best residential buildings. We were deplatformed by absolutely everyone. They wanted to take the rails out from under us, and we found DeFi very, very quickly, and we found an incredible community, all of you, who really believes in transformational finance and doing things better. And it started clicking. The traditional financial, industry was broken, and it was punitive. It was punitive for the consumer. If you weren't Trump, if you didn't have a famous last name, if you didn't have a lot of zeros behind your name, the financial industry was not working for you, it was working against you. Look at the lending rates, right? Looking at the savings rates of some of these banks where they're paying, grandma 10 basis points on their money, and they're taking a spread of 4%. And you wonder why they're able to build $6 billion buildings on Park Avenue in New York, right? And that's what crypto was able to do. Crypto was able to remove those fees. Crypto was able to make banking so much more transparent, the flow of money more transparent, the flow of money cheaper, faster, in every way, shape, or form. It democratized finance in a way that it had never been done before. And those same animals that were coming after us legally for doing absolutely nothing wrong, they were trying to disqualify my father from becoming the next president of the United States, which thank God we won. We're going after unbelievable people like Asher and every single person in this room who are having bank accounts shut down for no damn reason other than the blatant fact that they wanted to take on the very institutions that, guys, excuse the language, were screwing all of us. And that's what made me a believer. That's what made me a believer that we can do it better. So I fell in love with the concept of stablecoin. I fell in love with the concept of Bitcoin. I fell in love with the store of value that you could move anywhere in the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could transfer $500 million in the middle of the night while sitting there having a glass of wine with your wife to any corner of the earth. It wasn't susceptible to corrupt governments. It wasn't susceptible to floods. It wasn't susceptible to fires. It wasn't gold. What are you going to do? Load up a ship and take it to another country? You could transport it. There was a marketplace. There was an ecosystem. It was protected by the greatest energy in the world, all around the world. It was so decentralized. And it's truly become one of the great stores of value ever. And so I went from the guy who just wanted to own the properties on Fifth Avenue in New York City and in the middle of Miami, and we still do. I mean, God bless, that's half of my life still. But all of a sudden I realized that the greatest edge to those hard assets were those digital assets. And honestly, no disrespect to the real estate industry, because I am a real estate guy. If you look at the growth of digital assets over the last decade, nothing even comes close. And when you look at the growth of what digital assets will be over the next decade, nothing, guys, will even come close, in my opinion. It is going to be so explosive. And if you look back over the course of history, name a time when a digital technology didn't win out over an analog technology. You can't. Whether it's the telephone, whether it's the internet, whether it's photography. You know, Polaroid's a nice company that no longer exists. Why? Because they didn't keep up with the time. It's no different. It's no different than what we're seeing with the flow of money. You think the Swift wire transfer system is going to exist in 7 years when you can't send a wire past 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday? Not a chance. Not a chance. You know why? These stable coins are coming around and Bitcoin's coming around, and you can transact using your smartphone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You think commodities are going to be traded on the Swift system, where again people's money is frozen out? You don't get interest on that money for 72 hours? Of course not. You know what that's going to do? It's all going to become digitized. And the banks have fought like hell to keep that from happening. And we've broken the banks. We've broken the banks because of everybody in this room and because we're right. And it's taken this much time. And now all of a sudden you see the institutional adoption that I started talking about before. Guys, we've won this race. I mean, we've already won this race. But the speed of which you're going to see growth over the next couple of years is going to be just monumental. And so I think Asher and I and Mike and everybody else, we nailed the timing. We nailed the timing of American Bitcoin. And we're not just at that. Name another industry where you can mine a product for roughly 50% of the value of the product. Go do that with diamonds. Go try and do that with gold. Guys, good luck. Most of those companies are making all their margin, you know, selling futures, selling complicated derivatives on the actual asset class. You know, go talk to any farmer around the country. You think they're making 50% profit margins? Not a chance. So, you know, I've always said that there's two races that we're fighting. One is the race to get the most Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor, he's a friend of mine. He's done an unbelievable freaking job, and I doubt anybody ever catches that. You have the second race, which is who can do it the cheapest. And I can tell you, American Bitcoin, we are hell-bent. We are hell-bent on doing it the cheapest. And we have the platform to do it the cheapest. And that's why we mine every single day. And that's why we increase our Satoshis per share every single day. That's the fundamental business of American Bitcoin. And I truly believe we're going to win that race. When we first started this voyage, even really 18 months ago when we started talking about the company, it was a really retail-based audience that was buying Bitcoin. Before that, it was really DeFi-based audience who was buying Bitcoin. Now all of a sudden, every single day you see, you know, Merrill, you see, you know, Schwab, you see JP Morgan. JP Morgan was crapping all over Bitcoin 18 months ago, saying it was a joke asset. And it's really interesting. Now they're allowing people to take out home mortgages against their Bitcoin holdings at JP Morgan. This happened in a period of 18 months, my friends. Right? And so the institutional adoption that's happening right now is unbelievable. The torque that's being created in the system, the products and the derivatives that are happening off of the BTC ecosystem is incredible. And so American Bitcoin, we're mining more of it than just about anybody. We've got the greatest company. We're doing it here in America with American energy, with some of the lowest cost energy. I'm doing it with some of my best friends in the entire world. And guys, we're having a great time. And I truly do believe, last but not least, we have the greatest name in the crypto industry, American Bitcoin. So our story is 8 months and 3 days old. And I think this is going to be a lifetime work. And I think we're going to be one of the great companies anywhere in the country.
The banking system was never neutral. It was structured to extract 10 basis points from paying depositors while capturing a 4% spread and calling it a service. The average person with no famous last name and no zeros behind their name was not a customer. They were inventory. So Bitcoin didn't pitch an alternative. It made the old model visibly embarrassing. And the institutions rushing in now are the same ones that used legal pressure and financial deplatforming to stop it. They didn't arrive because they believe in decentralization. They arrived because the BlackRock ETF became the most successful launch in that firm's history, and every wealth manager watching that number suddenly had a very different conversation with their clients. And no, that's not adoption, but capitulation dressed up as enthusiasm.
We see American Bitcoin as the Bitcoin company. And what does that mean? That means we help securitize the network. The vision was always, let's build a company for people who believe in Bitcoin, the ecosystem, to get exposure to Bitcoin as an asset class. And through building the ecosystem, let's increase the Bitcoin per share that backs every single share a shareholder owns. And I think what's been lovely is, if you look at the Bitcoin mining business, I mean, we are one of, if not the best Bitcoin mining business in the world today. I think a lot of people have left the industry, which has been great because competition has left and we continue to grow and scale. Regardless of Bitcoin price, every quarter, our margins and our gross margins have been higher than 50%. So we're mining at more than a 50% discount every quarter we've had to date. And I think the cost of mining that Bitcoin comes down as Bitcoin prices come down. It goes up as Bitcoin prices go up. We've raised over $500 million as well in accumulating the Bitcoin that we have on the balance sheet as well. We're mining 10 plus Bitcoin a day at a 50% margin that we're continuing to grow on. And so I think we're really proud of what the business has accomplished over the last 18 months. I think we're really proud the foundation is created to continue to scale. I think there's volatility in the ecosystem, volatility in price, volatility in sentiment. And for us, kind of the northern light and star has always been just keep our heads down and build day by day, and we'll create a great business. And I think we're very proud of what has happened to date, and we're just getting started.
As America has got clarity, as America has embraced it, every country around the world has noticed, and every country around the world is starting to follow. And so you're not putting this genie back in the bottle. This genie's out of the bottle, and it's going to stay out of the bottle. But what's happening is the speed of adoption right now, and the speed that people are building on these respective networks is unbelievable. And that's going to continue. Second of all, you see what Asher's doing every day. By the way, this guy needs to be congratulated. His stock price today, they made a big announcement last night. His stock price was up 34% last night. It hit $107 today. About 3 years ago I think it was $6, right? 2 years ago it was at $6 and it hit $107 today. So this guy's he wore a tie for the first time when I saw him in the green room. And I go, Asher, what the hell? Your stock hits $107. You brace 100 for the first time and all of a sudden you put on a tie for the first time ever. But joking aside, what they're doing in AI and what everybody's doing in AI and what America's leading the world in AI, how do you think payments are going to flow through AI? You think that's going to flow through paper currency? Do you think that's going to flow through the use of gold? And what are you going to do? You'd have AI go smelt gold and transfer it around the world? Of course not, right? I mean, you know how it's going to flow? It's going to flow through digital currencies. It's going to flow through cryptocurrency. It's going to flow through Bitcoin, right? There's just no question about this. So you have two things that are happening. Well, you really have three things that are happening. I mean, first of all, governments all over the world, led by the greatest economy that the world has ever seen, America, is embracing. And second of all, you always have the greatest technology boom that's ever happened, which is AI. And the only way to actually flow money through AI, is the use of digital assets. And third, the financial institutions all realize that they've lost. And they can no longer push back. And so instead of actually fighting against the tide, you know what they're doing? They're swimming with it for the first time. So now all of a sudden you have hundreds of billions, trillions and trillions of dollars that are coming into these because they realize that the BlackRock ETF, Bitcoin ETF, was the most successful in history, made them a fortune. And guess what they're doing? Every day you have another person popping up another ETF. And every day you have another private wealth manager who made a lot of money in Bitcoin recommending that his clients put a more significant stake of their net income into Bitcoin, and all of a sudden you have legislation going through which gives people more of an optionality for 401ks and retirement plans to have cryptocurrency allocation. This is all happening at the same time. The AI boom, the institutions, the retirement plans, the companies, all of you out there every single day that are building products on top of the system, being able to custody it. The biggest banks in the country with the vast majority of accounts, the Charles Schwab's that have 30% of the retirement accounts in this country. They're allowing the custody of Bitcoin. They're allowing people to borrow against their BTC holdings. Guys, what this does, the way this propels this industry is absolutely monumental. And so, I always get killed. I believe Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million. I believe Bitcoin is going to go to more than $1 million. I've said that over and over and over, and I've never had more conviction than right now. So we're in the heyday of this industry. It's wholly apparent, Michael, based on the fact that how many people you have here? 25,000 people or 10,000
They're here with us.
People love it, and this is happening all over the world. So can I congratulate all of you for being on the forefront of all of this and believing before it became mainstream. We're all going to be the ultimate winners of this incredible technology and this incredible build.
So pull back and look at the full shape of what Eric Trump is describing. Swift can't send a wire after 4 p.m. on a Friday. Commodity traders sit on frozen capital for 72 hours with zero interest. Now, these aren't glitches. They're features of a system built to keep friction profitable. Every delay is a spread. Every inefficiency has an owner. And for decades, the people who owned those inefficiencies also controlled who got banking access and who didn't. That architecture is now breaking. It's not even dramatic. There's no single announcement, no collapse moment. Charles Schwab, which holds roughly 30% of US retirement accounts, is allowing Bitcoin custody and BTC-backed loans. JP Morgan, which was publicly mocking Bitcoin 18 months ago, is offering home mortgages against Bitcoin holdings. Legislation is moving through Washington that would open 401k and pension allocations to crypto. Every one of those moves individually sounds incremental. They're all happening at once. Then there's the AI dimension, and this is the piece most coverage isn't taking seriously enough. Autonomous AI agents will conduct commerce. They'll purchase data, execute contracts, move capital, and operate with no human authorizing each transaction. That cannot route through legacy banking rails. The infrastructure required is digital, programmable, and borderless. Bitcoin and stablecoins are not aspirational fits for that future, but logical defaults. Eric Trump's $1 million Bitcoin call sits on top of all three of these converging forces. Institutional capital finally inside the gates, retirement money gaining legal access, and AI-driven transaction volume that hasn't started yet, but is coming regardless of what any regulator decides. The institutions that spent years fighting this are now swimming with it, as Trump puts it. And when institutions this large reverse direction, they don't do it quietly or cautiously. They do it with hundreds of billions. The genie is out of the bottle. The only question still open is how many people understand what put it there, and whether the system absorbing Bitcoin now will end up reflecting its values or replacing them. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't. It's free, and it helps more people find this content. See you in the next video.